Good evening. I see we only have a few people in the chat so far, but that's okay. But hello to you all on this fine Monday evening. We're digitizing some U-Matic video cassettes tonight. I'm really getting down to the last few that are in that box. There's only like I've got two here in front of me that we'll do tonight, and then there's like 3 more in the box, and then that's it. Hello Eva, hello WTTV, good to see you guys here. Now the view count's starting to go up. I did a little something a little different in the starting card. Well, first of all, the music. I said I was gonna put the music from that bumper, or that the bumper tape. I actually did it. I thought it worked out well. I think I might cut some of the songs out. Some of them are a little too wild for the energy of this stream. But the other thing I did was I made the where it says starting at 7 p.m. I used to put that in Eastern time. Now it's in local time because of that little clock that I put there. Uh-oh, is it going to start the music again? There, I muted it. That little clock in the top left corner there is obviously in local time. So I thought, well, I might as well change the starting at time to be local time so it doesn't confuse people. So hopefully that didn't confuse people who are used to seeing it stated in Eastern time. But anyway. So, going back. So this image right here, this is the first tape that we're going to be digitizing tonight. Look at this. This tape is from the 70s, maybe early 80s. But here it is right here. Isn't that cool? Scotch. So this was before they started using the 3M brand name on the U-Matic cassettes. Scotch brand, high energy, UCA 60-minute with extended stop motion capability. That was the thing with like the second generation of U-Matic tapes, was everybody boasted about how you could pause them and it wouldn't destroy the oxide on the part that the head was constantly rotating around. That must have been a problem with the earliest U-Matic cassettes, was if you pause them, the head drum would eventually scrape the oxide off that part of the tape. And of course it says color video cassette. Of course U-Matic was always color. But evidently this was early enough when, black and white videotape systems were still a thing. Although there's no such thing as black and white videotape and color videotape. Tape is tape. And then of course the big U-Matic logo there, which I really like. So yeah, this tape's old. 70s, maybe early 80s. But it's got a card on it that first of all says, "Hold, do not destroy this tape." I wasn't planning on it, but there we go anyhow. But on this card, it's got a date of 1987. So however old this cassette is, the footage on it is presumably from 1987. So this came from Fundy Cable in St. John. It says to Fred Cable, Fredericton Cablevision. Dub of raw material from Fundy Ball Tournament, September 12th, 1987 in St. John. And also, in the little plastic sleeve on the cover of this tape, was, hello Alistair, was this business card, which I have a photograph that I'll show here. Take a look at this. Somebody's business card from Fundy Cablevision. That's how long ago that was, and wow, isn't that cool? Look at that logo, red, green, blue. That's really neat. So that was in here too. That's quite the keepsake. I think that's pretty darn cool. So if we open up the case itself, quite a different type of U-Matic case here. It's actually got a little plastic tab you can pull up to release the cassette. The cassette looks like your standard 3M UCA cassette. They really never changed, did they? But if you look at the tape itself, and I know you guys might not be able to see this on camera. I'll get a poker here so I can open the tape door. The oxide is brown. This tape is early enough that the oxide is brown instead of black. So, yeah, well, if I take a flashlight here, there you can see the oxide is brown. So this was pure ferric oxide rather than later ferric oxide that was doped with cobalt or whatever. Yeah, this is really neat, and it's got no mold, no mold growing on it. So we should be good to go to play this tape. So, of course, I've got the Sony VP7020 U-Matic VCR from 1994 ready to go. And so I'm just going to stick this tape in and rewind it and see what we get. So let me bring our thing up here. There we go. And let's see how this works out. Is cobalt radioactive? If it is, that's new to me. So, what was I gonna... Oh, YouTube's streaming server seemed to be acting better tonight, so I'm back at streaming at the full 5 megabits per second instead of 2.5 megabits per second. I watched our last stream back, and I noticed that some of the parts where there was a lot going on the screen, it got very pixelated. So I was like, ugh, I hope I don't have to stream at 2.5 megabits per second again. So, anyway, yeah, I'm sure in most of the Western world it's still the afternoon, I realize. Here on the East Coast it's already 7 p.m. So, tape's all rewound. Let's hit play and see what happens. Oh, that's an interesting color bar pattern. Oh, that's cool. Fredericton's coffee. Oh, and the tape's a little problematic. I'm hearing no sound yet. Oh, you know what I did? No, wait, no, I didn't. Oh,
Okay,
never mind.
we're rolling.
My son. All right. That's never saw it. Yeah. Done with a mustache.
Hold it. That's Daryl and his other brother Daryl.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Sure. great time here today at the field. Yes, we are. Ladies and gentlemen, we're playing baseball here all day long. With the cable vision, yes, sir.
I want a piece, but not a chocolate.
How you doing, Dinker?
Go, Jimmy! There's yours over there.
Small.
Must be yours. Watch out, guys! Okay, Jamie, we want it now. Is there any question, Devil or Angel? Is there any question, Brian?
Hey. I seen that.
Come on, Jamie! Let's go, Jamie!
Oh, yeah.
Let's go!
Smart one.
Take on both.
Yeah.
Jamie, over that left fielder's head!
Hey, you guys are supposed to be number one.
We hit Charlene out of your bomb.
Base hit! Oh, go on you!
Guys, go out of here.
All right, Jamie, let's go!
Hey, Joe.
Come on, Joe!
Go, Jamie! Oh, nice hit! Hold up!
Come on, Dave!
All right, Dave! Get away with that camera, you! On the ground, you gotta be going. You game, guys, let's go now! Very good, folks, now! Let's go, Jerry, base hit! Right over there, head! Ball! Too many coolers!
Imagine running around on an active ball field with a U-Matic Porta-Pack. This cameraman's got guts.
Catch, Brent. This one. Hey, Brent, you're up. Whoever follows. All right, all right.
You done, Dave? That nice backward motion. Want to cut that?
Good.
Hi, Mom. Speed up some, eh?
Let's go, Brent.
4-4. Let's go.
Mom?
Go for it. This close up of Bonnie. Here it is. Miss Baseball, 1987.
Yes, we're having an interview here with one of our star players.
You gotta say hi, Mom.
Yeah. Can we have some intelligent conversation here from one of our baby boomers?
We're winning still, aren't they? They didn't get any runs.
Yes.
That time we won.
This is obviously a mistake. Baby boomer in blue. This is a boy sign.
I'm a boy,
Let's get the...
long-haired boy. This is a B, and this is a little A, and a little B, and a little Y. It spells baby.
Give her a gold star.
What's shaking?
Oh, I'm still sobering up from last night.
Is that right? Where were you?
Went out in the woods.
Yeah?
Too bad you
Woods
got a
after
mini
bed.
skirt on. You're gonna mini skirt on.
How long you been here?
Oh, about an hour.
Feeling bad. Went out with Garnet last night. What a mistake. What a mistake.
Let's go, gang.
Any outdated views expressed in these videotapes do not reflect the views of the person running the stream.
Okay, lean back. No, lean forward a bit.
Yeah.
No. Lean forward just a little bit. There.
No, Steve.
Now do this.
You're in the hole, eh? Yeah. And then it's
There, perfect.
Bonnie, and it's...
All right. Yeah, you can have another strike. One, two.
Check that bat for cork.
We get an official ruling on this,
Yeah,
Rich?
we're going to check that bat for cork.
Yeah?
Yeah. We've had a couple of fights today.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Hey!
Tough game.
On tire au deux, let's go, on tire. Ouais. On tire au jeu, de la main, t'es prêt? Ouais.
I'll get the first one out first.
Wow, we want to top the four. Ouais, mais là, là. Oh, c'est pas les rester là, Andrew. Let's go, double play, I believe. I believe. I believe. It's a play. Hold up.
Hey Daryl, you want to make a That's Blue commercial?
Yeah, let's do one right now, Andre.
I don't remember the song, so what do I do?
This blue's for you.
You put it after, okay?
Father Blue.
Yes, everybody drinks blue in Canada, right?
C'est tout pour avoir des grimaces. Ah non! Attends, t'aurais dû nous avoir. C'était le dash par-dessus les yeux. Animal spirituel.
Hey, don't argue with the coach.
C'est quoi ça? Pray for. C'est quoi ça?
Don't argue with the ref. one's gotta go. Come on, for sure.
You better run your little leg off there, Daddy.
Let's go, let's go.
Stay if it's a fly ball, dog.
Show the cameraman the ball, Gary.
Right in the lens.
Zoom right in on her. Oh, good, Gary. That's ain't that far. Look at that play. Hey, this is on.
Marlene, wave to your mom.
I told you she was bad, didn't I?
Just let me get a focus. Set my focus out for her. Carolyn, your things are jumping up and down.
Well, push my batter up. Batter up. Okay.
Keep it going around again the second time, okay? Hey, Mark!
Everybody's doing a brand new dance.
Bye!
Daryl, I hope you caught that page.
I did.
Was that it? Oh, I bet this is another camera.
This is neat. Like I'm trucking, but when I see some action, I can stay on it and follow
stay on it,
And the camera's moving. Yeah.
She made it, the third.
Can't you get anybody else there besides me? You've been through here 4 or 5 times. Go guys, all right? Here, just a minute.
So the Daryl who's on this business card must be the Daryl they're mentioning on the tape.
Yeah, let's do one more.
Yeah, evidently autofocus wasn't. Whoa. Okay. Evidently autofocus was not at its peak in 1987.
What a squad.
Am I playing out here? I don't know where I'm playing.
It was foggy out east this morning when I left. But I haven't been home yet. I thought it was.
Yeah, I think you're right, Alistair. I think that's a Fundy Cablevision van, that light blue van in the background. That Astro van. Yeah.
Does he see ya?
Yes, I can see his arm. You see, everybody's watching the TV. Guys, can see it? You can see everyone who's watching this ball game. Here, go get a picture of me, Dad. Yeah, I see him. You can't get that close, Joe. You're not allowed. What is that when you see it? Can you see anything?
I can see you. What are you looking at? Let me see the little girl there.
That way. Say hi to me. Joe?
No.
Andy's up, Danny's on deck.
What's
Last time,
Thank you.
I could see everybody. I was just hoping they couldn't see me. Come on, Andy, just start.
What?
I don't want to talk.
When's it gonna be on? I don't blame you. I wouldn't hear with everybody sitting here with beer and everything else, right?
Move, Joe. Still mad.
I'm winning in the game, kid.
All I can see is Kirk. Anyway, look at Joe. Look in that. You'll see this going. Full circle.
Let's go. Hey, Gilbert! He's up.
Not that close. I want to see you too, right there.
Choose your pitch.
Yeah.
Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
Isn't this the last inning?
Come on, guys.
Let's do it!
Come on, guys.
Let's do it, John!
What are you doing drinking my goddamn beer?
Do it now.
No problem.
Now's the time, Don!
This is the bottom of the third.
Let's go!
In your last inning. In your fifth
Good,
inning.
good.
Can I borrow your scooter to go around the track?
Yeah, if it's not 1 to 4, the limit's 5. But
Gee, I
the
wouldn't
last
break it.
inning, there's no limit.
Come on, guys!
They do. Big
She's losing her diaper. You can do it here, Jan.
What's the score now, Danny? 7.
Let her break on, for heaven's sake.
Okay.
Go get her, Janice.
Come on, 3 on, 3 down. Smile, Dolores. Smile, Janie. I need your smile. Whatever. Oh, dear. Smile, Haley. We're saving it for Charlie Opie. Any more
Yeah, sure is.
Oh, here's 620, yeah!
Hold up, buddy.
She did well.
Daryl, go to hell.
What?
I said go to hell.
Go, Doug.
Nice hit, nice hit.
All right, nice hit there.
So what just happened there, Bonnie?
I just got a running. What would you like me to tell you? I'm out of breath.
How you did it? What your secret is?
My secret is to grasp real tight around the bat. And you gotta pull way, way back. And then you gotta hit that ball and then you hit the ump so he doesn't see anything happening, and then you go around the bases and everyone's happy.
All right.
And you score points.
Show me how you do it. Jeez, how do you do it? Show me.
Okay, no, here. Okay, you hold the bat like this.
All right.
Okay, so this is the bat. Hold on to it.
bat. Give me a bat.
All right. Okay, here's the bat.
All right.
Yeah, you hold on, and you pull it way back here. This is when you whip it around and you throw the ball. Here's the bat.
That is really good.
Yeah, that's that.
Okay. You know, like I'm
Hold
gonna
it
try
like
that
this.
next time. Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
And you hit it with the end here. Like this.
Well, the next
And
time
then
I'm gonna do it that way. The next time. That's right.
Shake it. Say hi, Mom.
Hi, Marlene.
Do you want a glove in the face or what? Yeah, right.
Happy the opening.
All right.
There you go. There's some.
I was just wondering what it was you said there after the ball was caught there, Marlene.
I'm a good girl.
No, I did not swear.
Maybe you should show her your technique, Bunny.
Show Marlene my technique?
Yeah, on how to hit the ball.
Marlene did just fine. Marlene forgot to wear a diaper though, so we didn't get it as far as it should have. Like this. So it's all dirty and everything.
I took mine off because it got soggy.
Did you pee yourself and all get excited?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's too much for me.
As long as
I
it's
let her
number
go.
one and not number two.
I let her go.
Yeah.
That was nice.
The beer, Don.
That was a nice catch. Way to be, sir. Good call, sir.
Look him over, Gary.
Come on, Gary, come on. Let's go, Janice. Let's go, Janice. Let's go, bud. Oh, that's anyway. We gotta get him out. Let's go, Janice. Oh, nice pitch, Janice. What's your golf club, Gary? Come on, Janice. One out, guys. Okay, Janice. Let's go, Janice. Oh. There it is. Touchdown. So, hey.
What's that?
I won.
That horizontal distortion that comes on once in a while, that's not part of this tape. This tape is a dub of another tape, probably the U-Matic S tape that was used in the Portapack that taped this. So this is part of the those distortions are part of the actual signal on the tape. They're not an issue with the tape or how it was recorded.
No, we don't push Daryl.
Smile, girl, John. Can the camera?
Yeah.
Okay, is it getting near you?
Yeah.
Have a camera out.
Not in your life. Alpine. To be aired on community television in St. John. Anybody else want a beer?
Yes. You got a cold one?
Yeah, they're all cold.
Is it? Lovely.
Grab a beer.
What? Left-handed. I don't think we have one either.
No, but if you happen to find one, we can use one too.
No, we can use one.
Yeah, there. Yeah, this
Yeah, I imagine.
It's New Brunswick, man. We love our beer. I'm noticing a strange phenomenon. You might notice whenever the camera changes exposure, you'll see the sides of the video signal expand and contract a bit. And what I'm seeing on the PVM through the HV delay is that when the exposure of the camera changes, the horizontal blanking interval is squishing and stretching. And so that just must have been a phenomenon of the VCR that was used to record this.
I never caught before.
Oh yeah, I know. I have to side it.
Look at this.
I got 3 girls.
Come on, throw the ball in here.
I know.
Oh, is that it? End of copy. I guess that's it. There's not even a time code on it anymore. Well, there you go. That was a fun little softball game. Let me just do a fast forward here and make sure there's nothing after that. That's what I'm doing. I'm fast forwarding. Just looking for if there's a control track on the tape, but there isn't. So that was the end of that. Cool. That was fun. Really old tape, but the material on it wasn't as old. But still, a tape that was made in the 70s. That's pretty cool. And either it was actually erased, or they never actually put this tape into use until 1987. Because there's no control track on it after the end of that footage. So, that was neat. So, our next tape is actually going back to basics here. It's a copy of MP Forum from 1994. On the spine here it says November 17th, 1994, MP Forum on Social Reform, 56 minutes long. Andy Scott's says reel 1 of 4. So I don't know if it's raw footage or... Got a info card in here. Andy Scott's MP Forum on Social Reform, tape 1 of 4, cut 1 of 1, 56 minutes 47 seconds, 17/11/1994, ends on bumper, dips to black after opening remarks. Okay. So you would think this is a finished program, but it says tape 1 of 4. So, don't know. No mold on this tape either. That's nice. Yeah, I played MP Forum once. That was the, or was that Opposition Forum? No, that was Opposition Forum. MP Forum's a similar show, but I think they just, they interview somebody from the party in power rather than somebody from the opposition party. Alright. Oh, I was like, where did I put that tape? Sitting right in front of me. Oh, are you kidding me? It's doing this again. I wonder if one of the LED tape sensors in this VCR got knocked out of alignment somehow. I might have to interrupt here, because the VCR is doing that. Rewind, fast forward, rewind, fast forward, rewind, fast forward. No, we have MPs. We have MPs in provinces. Get this DVD recorder out of the way. CHCO got rid of this Sony DVD recorder, which as far as I've tested so far, still works. And this is kind of historical, because this DVD recorder, it's got a hard drive in it. It's a DVD recorder and a hard drive DVR. This ran CHCO in the late 2000s, early 2010s, before they got computer software to play all the programs. They would just set a playlist on this thing, and this would play all the programming over the air from its hard drive. Oh yeah, we have MLAs. We have MLAs and we have MPs. We have like a dozen MLAs and 4 or 5 MPs in New Brunswick. Is that not the same in all the provinces? Do some provinces only have MLAs? Because we have both here. Alright, what ails this VCR? Ah! I know what went wrong. The tape didn't... No. No, that's right. I don't know what ails this thing. Pardon me while I try and... Is this tape like partially see-through or something? No, it's not clogged. The VCR just keeps rewinding, fast-forwarding, rewinding, fast-forwarding. I don't know what ails it. There. Pardon me while I sort out technical difficulties. Oh yeah, this tape is a 3M UCA. Forgot to mention that. Finally! Okay. I don't know what ailed this VCR, but it's working now. Ugh. Yeah, the 3M tapes like to get this white powder. I call it mold, but white. Oh, we're jumping right in. No countdown. Let's try that again. Yeah, the 3M tapes like to get white powder.
Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you to Fredericton High School and to this public policy forum. This is now the 6th policy forum that MP for this riding, Andy Scott, has held. And I want to welcome you all this afternoon. This is the 2nd policy forum on the Human Resources Development Social Policy Review. And so we look forward to enlightened and lively debate and discussion this afternoon. I am Brian McIntosh. I'm a minister with the United Church of Canada and one of the co-chairs for this afternoon. My colleague and co-chair is Monica Zoer, and she's with the law firm of Hansen and Hashi. And we endeavor to lead us along a little bit this afternoon. As I said, this is the 2nd in this particular sector of the public policy forums, and it's the 2nd stage also, the document that has been handed to you, which is a summary document that will provide the background for our discussion today, is the summary document, as I said, of Lloyd Axworthy's department, as debate is seeking to be fostered across the country. The 2nd stage also of the consultation process, many of us will recall that there was a 1st stage to this process before this paper for cross-country consultation was put in place. I want also to let you know that there will be application forms for individual or group participation in the process available in the cafeteria as well today. And I'll also want to say that the results of our discussions today in the form of a final report will be fed into the national process when the parliamentary committee appears here in Fredericton on the 15th and 16th of December. Those are just some opening remarks, and we seek to offer this policy forum in both languages today, so I'm going to introduce you to Monica.
Au nom du comité organisateur et du député de la région de Fredericton-York-Sunbury, Andy Scott, je vous souhaite la bienvenue à ce forum public. ce forum offre aux membres de la circonscription l'occasion de participer à l'élaboration de la refonte de notre système de sécurité sociale, lequel influe non seulement sur notre quotidien, mais aussi sur le plan national et mondial. Durant l'été 1993, Andy a invité les membres de son comté à se joindre à lui afin de réfléchir et de discuter des enjeux que notre gouvernement fédéral nouvellement en place devait affronter. Andy, un vrai partisan de la politique émanant de la base populaire, est convaincu que pour bien nous servir aux communes, il doit faire appel à notre consultation au regard des politiques de réforme gouvernementale. Jusqu'à maintenant, la réalisation de ces tribunes ont été couronnées de succès. L'honorable Lloyd Axworthy, ministre fédéral des Ressources humaines, fut tellement impressionné par cette idée qu'il a invité Andy à entamer un périple à travers le Canada pour rencontrer les députés fédéraux de la côte Est à la côte Ouest de façon non partisane, de partager son expérience et de préconiser une telle philosophie à travers le pays. De plus, Andy a été choisi pour siéger au comité permanent sur la refonte des programmes de sécurité sociale au Canada et aura l'occasion de participer directement à l'élaboration et au changement des changements dans le domaine de la création d'emplois, la formation professionnelle, l'acquisition du savoir et du savoir-faire et la sécurité sociale. D'ici quelques instants, je vous expliquerai la modalité à suivre aujourd'hui. Mais pour le moment, j'ai l'honneur et le grand plaisir de vous présenter notre membre du Parlement, Andy Scott, our local member, Andy Scott. Merci.
Thank you very much, Monica and Brian, and welcome everyone to the sixth in a series of public policy forums held here in Fredericton, York, Sunbury. I would first of all like to say how important this exercise is to me as the Member of Parliament in this riding. I believe quite strongly in the notion that Canadians have the right, not only the right, but the obligation to participate in public policy formation. I think we've come past the time in our history as a country when people such as yourselves elect people such as me to go off to Ottawa and make decisions on your behalf. I think that the job of the Member of Parliament, rather, is to facilitate the opportunities so that people such as yourself can tell people such as me what it is that you want me to represent in Ottawa. I don't see that as an abdication of leadership. I see that as leadership. And so I'm quite gratified that each time we do this, large numbers of people come out on a Sunday afternoon to participate in these debates. And certainly this particular discussion is probably the most important that we're going to be engaged in over the term or the 4 years that this government has been mandated to govern. Social policy reform is fundamental, or social policy is fundamental to the nature of Canada, and I think that everyone in the country should be participating in this debate. I also want to say how grateful I am that Francis LeBlanc and Maria Minna have agreed to give us a weekend out of what I know to be a very busy schedule to be here. They'll be introduced, but I wanted to just say what it means to me to have my colleagues from the committee, the parliamentary committee that's going to be traveling all over Canada, take this exercise as seriously as they have to be with us here today. So thank you all for coming. There'll be in details in terms of how we're proceeding from here, but from me, thank you very much.
I would like now to introduce the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Human Resource Development, Francis Leblanc, who is a member for Cape Breton, Highlands, and Cancel.
Merci beaucoup. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon with my two colleagues, Maria Minna and Andy Scott, your Member of Parliament, to take part in this consultation exercise on the future of Canada's social security system. We talk a lot in politics about involving the people in decision-making, about grassroots democracy, about bottom-up policy development, all those buzzwords, and very often it's not easy to put those ideas into practice. But what we have discovered since your Member of Parliament has come to Ottawa is that here in Fredericton, he and yourselves have come up with a formula that allows for successful, thoughtful development of policy, ideas, and debate on very key issues facing Canadians right here in Fredericton. And more members of Parliament across the country are looking to the model that you and Andy Scott are developing here in Fredericton as a way of carrying out their own public policy and grassroots policy formulation exercises in their own constituency. And that is one of the reasons why I have been anxious to come here and be here with Andy and yourselves to participate in this exercise. Because one of the very important elements of the process of reforming the social security system in Canada is finding out what Canadians want, finding out the ideas of Canadians on how these programs should be redesigned, and engaging in a dialogue with you directly about the future direction of these programs, which means so much to all of us. And so the job that we are engaged in as the House of Commons Standing Committee on Human Resources Development, which is taking the discussion paper that Mr. Axworthy released in early October across the country to consult Canadians, has as a very key part of it the receiving the points of view of forums such as this, which are going to be organized by members of Parliament across the country. And the model that many members of Parliament are using for carrying out these constituency public consultation forums is the model that you and Andy Scott are developing. And so I think you can be very proud of your member for carrying out this service on behalf of Canadians and in support of the Parliament of Canada. We intend to make this a very key part of the input that will go to the Standing Committee in developing recommendations to the government. The Government of Canada has engaged all of us in a very fundamental debate, a debate on how we produce jobs and growth in our economy, and in a debate on how our social system, social security system, is modernized, is improved, is developed within our means to meet the needs of the 21st century and those who rely on it most. So we encourage all of you to take active part in this debate. As chair of the committee, I'm very interested in what you have to say, because as I said before, it is a key part of the process of consultation which we will be carrying out in the next few weeks. Thank you.
We're privileged to have the chair and the vice chair of the Standing Committee here today, and I'd like to introduce you to Maria Minna, who is, as I said, the vice chair of the committee and is the member for Beaches Woodbine.
Thank you very much. It is a real honor for me to be here because after spending about 20 years as a community activist in the city of Toronto, this is, to me, is what I always thought politics was about, and that is going back to the people for direction and for input. I should tell you that if some of you missed your member this summer somewhat, Andy Scott, and I'm very proud to be here with both Andy and Francis, it's because he took the liberty and the time to go across this country to meet with members of Parliament of all partisan background. It didn't matter, it wasn't just Liberal members, but Reform and Bloc, to share with them his formula of how to hold a very involved and participatory forum consultation process. So that a lot of my colleagues in Ottawa are very thankful to Andy to help in essence prepare for this part of the process of consultation as we travel across the country. So that if you did miss him at all this summer, he was doing some really good work on behalf of the Government of Canada, so we appreciate the time that he put in. The process that we've undertaken is one that it is critical that we all across this country at some point come to grips and agree on the fundamentals that will guide the programs that we in the end agree with and that we will recommend. All of the fundamentals of the programs and the principles that we want them to guide us. So that I think it's important that as we look at and evaluate the proposals and go beyond them, as you will be, will be doing this afternoon, that within that we look very at fundamentals that we can be applied, and this is my own view, but that can be applied across the country. How can we make sure that Canadians across Canada, regardless of which region they are in, or local municipality or what have you, are able to receive programs that have within them the same fundamental principles and guarantees and quality and so on that every other Canadian across the country receives. And I think that's a key or something that you may want to consider. For me, the process that we've undertaken is one that is very intensive and exciting, but it is very valuable and critical that people all across the Canadians across Canada participate very aggressively, so that in the end, whatever the Standing Committee recommends to the House of Commons, it has had the input of every single Canadian across the country. It has had the input of, this is why we've asked every single member of Parliament to hold forums in their ridings, those that have not normally been in the habit of doing so. The hearings are traveling across the country. There will be all kinds of additional consultations. The members of Parliament themselves will be inputting into the Standing Committee, and so that the process that you're going through is part and parcel of our hearing process. All of the materials will be presented to the Standing Committee as well as the Minister. And so it's very, very important for us to see what is said across the country, what kind of options people choose, what additional thoughts they bring to the process over and beyond what is proposed in the Green Book, if you like. And I look forward to participating with you this afternoon, and as I go try and participate in as many of the workshops as I can to try and get a sense of what is being said and what is happening here. So it is a pleasure for me to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
Aujourd'hui, vous êtes invités à réfléchir sur les 4 éléments du programme gouvernemental en matière d'emploi et de croissance économique. Nous consacrons 1h30 de 13h45 à 15h15 aux discussions de groupe. Il y aura au sein de chaque groupe un ou une secrétaire qui prendra en note les diverses idées exprimées par le groupe. Nous jouirons d'une pause santé afin de se réunir ici dans l'auditorium vers 15h30 pour le plénière. Chaque secrétaire sera alors invité à s'approcher du micro et à livrer un sommaire des commentaires émis par son groupe. Afin d'assurer la participation de tous et chacun, nous demandons au secrétaire du groupe francophone de faire le reportage en français d'abord et puis de faire part en anglais des idées principales ressorties de leur discussion. Les notes prises par les secrétaires seront remises à Liz Sloat, qui agit en titre de chef du cabinet d'Andy à Ottawa, et l'île sera responsable pour la rédaction du rapport. Une ébauche de ce rapport sera transmise à chaque chef du groupe afin de recueillir leurs commentaires et de s'assurer que le document reflète les diverses opinions telles qu'exprimées par les membres de leur équipe. Je dois aussi encourager chaque secrétaire et chef de groupe à prendre les quelques minutes accordées durant la pause pour réviser les aspects soulevés durant leur discussion, afin de s'assurer que les points saillants soient reflétés au cours de la plénière d'une façon typiquement démocratique. Vous avez remarqué plus tôt que plusieurs tables d'inscription ont été installées dans le foyer de la cafétéria. Nous demandons aux gens de s'inscrire à un groupe de leur choix et vous allez voir que les tables ont été inscrites en suivant les questions numéro 1 à 4. Et aussi, une 5e table a été installée pour le groupe francophone. Pour les gens francophones aussi, vous allez retrouver sur la table une traduction des questions qui vous ont été parvenues plus tôt. Au moment de l'inscription, il y aura quelqu'un à la table qui vous indiquera où vous dirigez, à quel local. On demanderait aussi, le comité organisateur demanderait aussi à chaque groupe de traiter brièvement de la première question, question numéro 1, avant de se lancer dans leur discussion ou dans leur débat sur la question qu'il a choisie. Nous vous remercions à l'avance pour votre très précieuse collaboration et je vous souhaite une après-midi fructueuse. Merci.
Well, now we get into why we're really here, which is to discuss together in smaller groups the questions that are included in your packets that you've received today. If you would turn to those, I'll just explain briefly how we're going to proceed this afternoon. The questions are fairly broad and are meant to be so that those of you who've come to discuss a particular topic or say a particular thing will have a chance to do that. But you'll note that the sections of the questions grow right out of the document and the summary document itself. The three main sectors are working, learning, and security. Now, what we're going to do is have one group deal with the first two questions under the need for reform alone. So that would be Group A, which would deal just with, as I said, those first two questions. And then groups B and C and D, all with 12 to 15 people in these groups, would have a chance to deal with the first question under the need for reform, which is the broadest question of all, for a shorter time, and then would move to the sections working for the Group B, learning for C, and security for D, and would deal with the questions in those sections. So I hope that that's clear. You'll be helped in the cafeteria outside as you sign up. We'll have a short break in a moment to sign up and get some coffee. And there will be a facilitator and a recorder for each of those groups. And if we get more than 15 signed up for, say, the second group, we would continue to sign people and make a new group for that second group. So don't feel that you need to be hampered. If you've come to speak about learning and 25 people sign up, we'll have two groups. The recorders need to remember that they need to check back in with the people who are participating in their group before coming back to plenary about the notes that they've taken and to see whether people's voices have indeed been heard and written down and their opinions written down so that we can hear them back in the report to the plenary. And then those recorders hopefully will be the ones to report back during the plenary. Then we will follow that plenary discussion with the group reports, just with more general discussion and any questions for our guests or for our MP or for any of us. And then we'll have just a few closing remarks. This is the main reason we're here today. So I would ask that you and urge you to debate freely and discuss in a creative way in your groups. I believe that's all that needs to be said. And the feedback sheets for the for which? The feedback sheets for each member of the group will be distributed. Actually, there's an evaluation sheet in your packet, if that's what you're talking about. And we would urge you to complete that evaluation sheet also about the process and about your group and anything else that you want to give us some feedback about this afternoon. So now we'll proceed to the cafeteria and to the sign up and have some coffee and then break off into our groups. Thank you.
Time for this, we have as usual, a time limit here. We'll be discussing the actual document until 3:15. I have a clock here, and at that point, Kent will be reflecting back to you some of the discussions that were brought out, and Kent will also be presenting the report from this group to the plenary session. We will be going through a debating process, and at the end, we're very much looking for recommendations and solutions. So if you've got them, give them to us. Now's the time to put that into the process. So if you don't know already, the purpose for this session is to discuss basically the philosophy behind the reform discussion paper that was put together. Why is this process being embarked upon? You'll notice in your kits that there is an actual question that we were to begin with, and I'll just read it out here, and we'll start the discussion. We're dealing with the introduction and the need for reform. The first question is, are the objectives, principles, and economic analysis outlined appropriate to adequately reflect your vision of reforming Canada's social security system? Who would like to take the first step or make the first comment?
I'll make the first comment. No, I don't think it is adequate. I think we could move our unemployment insurance and social services out of government department and create a Crown Corporation, a Human Resources Development Crown Corporation, and have our unemployment insurance plan, or an unemployment insurance agency with a social services plan organized underneath the HRD corporation sort of thing. That I believe we would get better social security if our social policy was organized under a Crown Corporation.
Interesting.
I just asked the question, when you say better social security, what do you mean better?
I think we would get a better
benefits?
delivery of the services themselves. Like you have MB Power, it generates electricity. Canada Post delivers mail. An HRD corporation would deliver the social services. We would get some solutions to social problems.
Is your primary, I'm just going to ask some questions just to get started here.
Right.
Would your primary concern be in the area of the cost of delivery of the programs in the current civil service structure?
It's an enormous budget, and we don't seem to really get anywheres with our social policy. People don't get the work, they don't get the service. And a Crown Corporation might be able to achieve that.
I mean,
sure.
Federal government expenditures, I think only about 8% of federal government expenditures go to salaries and benefits and wages. So I don't think you're saving anything in terms of the cost of delivery. I think what you have a problem with and what your solution might address is what is delivered. We spend the salary of a federal government employee to deliver a service to the public, but then the monies that his signature or her signature dispenses are many thousands of dollars, and that's where the thing is out of hand.
The total cost is $38.7 billion.
Yeah, but that's not wages and benefits of employees. Don't get the idea that the federal government employees as a group are the costs there. The cost is the actual money spent in the program.
Okay. other comments right now, or would others like to respond to the opening question? I'm sure there's others that would love to respond to the opening question.
Well, I'd rather make a comment on the concept of turning this to a Crown corporation. I need to be persuaded of that that's a good idea, I think, and it may well be. It's not so long ago that the post office was not a Crown corporation. There was a postmaster general, and the whole thing was turned over to a Crown corporation. And I don't really believe that it's become more cost effective, or that there's a great deal of improvement there. I'm an uninformed observer of what goes on in the post office, but I haven't seen that's a wonderful way to have done things. I think, consequently, I would like to be persuaded that this is a good idea. It may well be, but I don't see it.
I think moving to a Crown corporation would be a step away from government responsibility and a step towards the need for said corporation to justify current costs, and therefore sort of an implicit means of trying to suggest that if it doesn't pay for itself, that we ought to cut it. And I really think that that's a terrible move for the government to make if it means that we're abdicating our collective responsibility for those who are unable or due to circumstances beyond their control often find themselves in a difficult circumstance without the means of what we give lip service to as human rights: food, shelter, and clothing. And if this is a means to move toward the privatization of the delivery of the service, I would be quite concerned about that.
We wouldn't have to change the infrastructure. The infrastructure could just remain the same, just give it a board of directors under a Crown corporation. I believe our social policy is mature enough to turn it over to a Crown corporation.
But we've been giving our Crown corporations, we've been making our Crown corporations privatized in the last 10 years, and let's not forget that the policies, if we're worried about the costliness of the current system, and we're looking to this process to cut only, my concern is that it's been cut for the last 10 years. And we lived with conservative fiscal policies for 10 or 15 years now. And we had increasing debt, when all along the rhetoric was that if we cut social programs, we'll have a decreasing debt. So we've tried the experiment. It hasn't worked. We got to work on the revenue side of the budget, not on the expenditure side, at least with regard to social programs. In the overall government's budget in 1992, I believe it was, out of 163 million, on the revenue side, only 10.3 or 10.4 billion, were from corporate taxes. 59 or 60 billion were from individual taxes. And that is almost a complete reversal of what it was about 20 years ago, when corporate tax rates were much higher and individual tax rates were much lower. And then, in addition, we have the GST, which hits the disposable income of low-income people the hardest. So I really, we are abdicating our collective responsibility in this country. And it's about time we woke up to it.
I would like to add something to this, actually from another point of view. I feel that if there is a need for reform, it has to start in a different direction. That direction is education, because people are getting unemployed, and most often because the job that they were in is no longer available, and they're just not there to find another job because they haven't got any training. First of all, I feel the schools themselves do not prepare our young people adequately to get into a job. I'm a student at the university, and I find that out when I talk to my fellow students, the younger ones, that they have no idea what they're going to do, and they can hardly read and write. So to begin with, they're semi-literate. That is the first thing that we have to do. In other words, if we get a need of reform, yes, there is a need for reform, but it should begin with education, and it should be made compulsory for anyone who is on any form of social assistance that he or she agrees to being retrained. Sitting home and waiting for the check is no good, because that sort of, you get a vicious circle that will never be broken. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I have to agree with Brian McIntosh, is that the funding is another reform. It should not come out of the pockets of the workers and the corporations alone. The corporations do not take a sufficient part in the funding of it. So there are two reforms that need to be instituted: a better education and the compulsory taking part of anyone who is on a social assistance program, be it UI or welfare. And the funding of it should be done at a much more equitable basis.
Could I just add, the wealth of any nation is its people. And the more productive the people are, the more prosperous the society is. And the whole system should be geared that more and more people have desire to work, and they earn their livelihood by the work that they put in, rather than the welfare check or the UI check that they get. Now, for some people who do get displaced from the jobs that have disappeared or something that has happened, the training should be possible for them to get, either to enhance their education or to take up some additional training which will train them to get jobs which are now would be available. More than that, I feel the most important thing is the people who get into the habit of living on welfare, that should be discouraged. Nobody should be able to get that check just sitting at home if they are not willing to work. Maybe, I'm sure there can be so many other programs that the government makes it mandatory that if you are recipient of a welfare check, you must do something to serve the community. In what form? I'm sure they can find it out. There are 101 ways where we can make people aware of it, that they should get out of the habit of living on charity. It is the self-respect, and that you only get by working. And if that incentive is taken away from people, and all that they can then do is watch television or drink or do something else, which again leads to certain other lawlessness and other problems in the family and otherwise. So I would recommend the social programs need reform, and they need it badly. We should give the assistance to people who are disabled, people who have young children. The mother can't go to work because instead of her giving those children to be looked after by somebody else, which will be additional burden, let the mother stay at home for that time till the children need somebody to be at home. But the moment they're able to go to kindergarten or school, that mother has no business to be on welfare. She should go and do some work. Similarly, a person who finds that the nature of the job in which he works, that is seasonal, they can at best work 4 months or 6 months in a year, whether they are fishermen, whether they are woodcutters or in farming or anything. For the other months, instead of they depending on UI, let them pick up some other training which makes them earn their livelihood, no matter how small it is.
Well, that's exactly what I mentioned. Education and the training for those who are on any form of social assistance is exactly what I said earlier. That is what we need in order to get the people out of this circle of dependency.
Do we have to achieve education and training of the unemployed through social policy? could we achieve it through industry, trade, and science policy?
There should be far more cooperation between the industry and people that are unemployed. I ran a business at one time, and I was given money if I took someone in to train. I couldn't afford to pay this person because they didn't have enough training. But when I got, in the beginning, 75%, and then as it went on, less and less, because this person became more valuable in my business. I thought that was a good program. I think it has more or less disappeared. Something like that should come back, where the industry and the social services go hand in hand in training these people. And I come back to education, which includes training.
Andy and then Elaine.
In response to the idea that perhaps this educational exercise or the training exercise should be delivered by industry or as an economic development issue, I think fundamental to this exercise is the question that's been referred to in terms of the dignity of the people that we're talking about here. It's easy enough, I think, to be outside of that circumstance and draw conclusions about what it's like to be there. I'm not sure that we're in a position to do that. But it would strike me that one of the things that we have to do is step away from this notion that these people are simply part of market forces and that somehow our country is suffering for their failure, when in fact I think they're suffering for our failure. And to move away from training and social services as a social issue and to imagine it as an economic issue, I think.
In there, we do have a very large unused workforce capacity in our country. It's 1.5 million people, so they are indeed people. They want work. Should we get them to work by industry, trade, science, and industry, trade, and science policy, meaning those people who are unemployed certainly want to have their dignity, keep their dignity. However, getting them back to work will take industrial policy, not social policy. And we're losing economically from a very large unused workforce capacity.
I don't disagree with the requirement to bring training. In fact, it's quite fundamental to this exercise. All I'm saying is that I think that we should be doing it for if you engage in that exercise on behalf of the people, I think you're going to have a more humane, client-based, individualized, respectful program than if you go at it on behalf of the labor market that needs these people to be their workers. That's the only point I'd make.
Split off a little bit of it. Just for people really want to return to work, can we create the industrial policy so that they indeed have jobs to go to?
Absolutely.
Just a small part of it.
Canada Employment Center.
I think
I would say, isn't it their responsibility to, project year after year, say next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, what sort of jobs would be available, and are we creating the facilities that the right kind of trained personnel would be available? This is sort of question that I have, that I have worked in Canada for 20 years. From day before yesterday, I joined the ranks of unemployed. I have worked for 40 years and 6 months. I used to work at NB Power. Because of their policies of cutting, I had been a consultant with them. I have very nice, testimonials given to me, but they would not be enough. I want work. And to get work, even if I have to move out of, now New Brunswick, where I can find some other work, where I can be usefully employed, I prefer that than to sit at home and get my UI.
Prefers to work. It
Yeah, I want to work.
the idea that
but the other
work.
question is that that bothers me more. I had done some study this year, thanks to my boss. We found out of the graduates from UNB in engineering faculty, in all the various disciplines, you'll be sorry to learn, 50% of them are still unemployed. You see, a young person coming out of university, having spent the best years of their life in trying to study, to prepare them for something, they come out of university, they have no job. They have tried, there is no job. Whom do I blame? I blame the people who let so many people be enrolled into a certain program on the hope that when they get out, there is something for them.
The welfare trap, you just cycle through it forever and ever.
Elaine, you wanted to get in a few minutes ago.
Pardon me,
and no, that's fine. I really want to hear what Elaine has to say. Okay. Could you just... Yeah, there you go.
I'm glad Andy made the comments that he did in terms of the dignity of people that we're referring to. I think that that's one thing that we really need to keep close at heart and to keep right in front of us. I mean, these are not just hopeless statistics that we're dealing with. These are people who, who are at home looking after their children. And I think that that's one point that needs to be made, is that if someone is on a welfare system and has made the choice to stay at home, that they should be respected just as anybody in another class, middle income earners or higher, are given that value in terms of staying home with their children. And I think that to disregard that as work is, something that, it raises a concern in terms of not looking at this in terms of a women's issue. I think that there needs to be that value there. In terms of the aspect of compulsory training, again, I think this is a matter of giving people choices, and I think that people need to be given the respect that they can make those choices and make them well for themselves. I think that when we're looking at training, in the overall view, training needs to be something which is fairly personalized. It can't just be sort of a factory kind of processing people through. People need to have the choice to what kind of programs they want to take, what they see their potential as, and to be given a thorough opportunity to do that, in the sense that they'll have the clothing available that they need for training programs, that they'll have the assurance that if they need childcare, that it'll be quality childcare, that it's not going to be something which is, anything less than what all of us would want for our children. I think that's essential. I think the other thing too that we have to look at, and going back to the thought of a crown corporation looking after this, or again letting industry sort of play more of a role, it scares me, because I think then what you're doing is you're setting up not so much a dependency for the people in the service, but a dependency of the employers. I like the idea of having training placements in smaller businesses, but when we're taking a look at these happening in larger corporations, they're the ones that are getting the subsidies for these workers, and it tends to be more of a dependency that they're getting. They're getting a cheaper labor force as a result. And I'm not sure whether or not that's something that we can necessarily be proud of. I think that people do need training for jobs, but they need to be at living wages, and they need to have all of the other supports in place as well.
Federal government currently spends $450 million each year to send unemployed people to colleges, universities, and other schools. Are we getting anything from it? Would it be better to transfer it over to an industrial policy and get people work? These unemployed people want work, and what they believe is that they can get new work or work at present from a classroom training, the education, but in the end, they don't get jobs. Half of the university students, or a great number of university students, cannot find employment careers. We can get the careers put together through industrial policy.
I have a comment over here.
Following up on all of that, what you need to say that what you said is successful, or what you said is successful, or whatever anybody comes up with, is some means of accountability. And when you see these pie charts, you see a pie chart that divides up Social Security expenditures, but if you look at the whole pie chart of government revenues and government expenditures, the incoming money and the outgoing money, you need to have a continuously balanced, flexible approach to both industry and social programs. And to have that, you're going to have to continuously look for accountability of how you deliver those. If you deliver programs of assistance to industry in providing on-the-job training, then you have to have frontline people who can assess what is going on in that industry and assess the impact of the delivery of the monies to that industry all the way up the line. As a federal government worker myself, I see occurrences that I can't have anything to say about because I'm on the bottom rung. I see money wasted in my department, and yet I can't follow it through. And it's the same thing with human resource development. They see something, it's their job to deliver it, but they can't follow it back up through. It gets, well, I had a little saying here in a speech I gave a while ago. It says, with practice, accountability in top-down structures can always be passed up or down, with the result that those who survive rise to the top because of their skills at being not held accountable. If you've got to beat at anything in the federal government, you've got to beat at the culture of the bureaucracy and the management of that bureaucracy. Such that the people on the front lines are increased, that whatever you deliver can be evaluated quickly, flexibly, and with accountability.
So I'm just going to ask a question. I'm going to bring us back to the first question. Would anybody here be arguing for the status quo?
It should be revised.
Because I haven't heard anybody arguing
Sounds
that.
like pretty big consensus on we do need the reform.
The only status quo I'd argue for is that they do not reduce the number of federal government's civil servants across this country. There are places in this country that are not as fortunate as Fredericton that may have one or two or half a dozen federal government employees there delivering a service. You not only get the service delivered to the community, but you get an economic benefit to that community, and that's right across this country. You have to remember that we've got the north, we've got the northern Alberta, northern Saskatchewan, very sparsely populated. In some places, the only good paying employment up there, steady employment, is the federal government employee. And they're not put there just to provide an income for merchants in that town. They're there to deliver a service, a worthwhile service, and you can't replace them with a computer or any other fancy technology or any other oversimplification of the delivery of services. You need people on the front line, and that's where the emphasis should be.
I heard Mr. Big saying something here.
I still feel that we need a reform because the way that the social programs are being delivered, we're still living in the 40s and 50s. We do not recognize that nowadays any person who works has to look forward to maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 changes in his position, which means a different training every time. It isn't anymore that when you're 18 and you come from high school, there is a job that you live in for the rest of your life. It just isn't so. So we got to reform the total way of looking what we're doing with the money that is available, and especially in an area like here where we have a tremendous amount of seasonal workers.
Industrial policy that aids business to keep their employees longer, to innovate retraining in the workplace.
Is that what you meant to say?
That is part of it. Although
Okay.
I wouldn't look for retraining and a big outfit like General Motors or whatever. I think the best retraining is done in the smaller businesses, who are the backbone of our economy to begin with.
They're carrying the whole load themselves is what's going on. Training, retraining.
Perhaps. Ro, did you want to say something you wanted?
I just wanted to mention a few ideas that I've had from my experiences in government. I'm fairly young, but my experiences in Premier McKenna's office for a year, when I was there, a lot of people would phone up and express their views, and I'm just wondering for a national daycare program, allowing single mothers to go out of the house and work and train while their children are being looked after. And another thing I also noticed is the K-12 education system. I was at a trade show in St. John, and I noticed a lot of people coming to ask for information on community colleges. Very low self-esteem, very low confidence. And I'm just wondering if this shouldn't be instilled in our K-12 education system, because I think it feeds off that and it's self-generating. Social Security. Another idea I heard on Social Security is contracting for what you plan to do. If you plan to take courses, maybe you should be allowed a certain supplement. If you contract to take university courses, maybe you should be allowed a higher supplement, depending on what each individual contracts for.
So be it like a social contract?
Exactly. But keep in mind, if National Daycare Program is in effect, mothers can get out of the house, should they choose, to pursue something. And time and time again I hear mothers saying that, they can't do anything because they can't afford daycare to get out of the house to pursue training. The other and final argument I hear from people phoning in is actuarially based UI premiums, meaning treating it somewhat similar to an insurance policy. If you're in a high-risk occupation, you pay higher premiums. And if you're in a lower-risk occupation that's more apt to become unemployed or not unemployed, then it should be basically prorated as to what occupation you're in, as a professor as opposed to someone in the service sector.
Can I just clarify that point? You mean high risk and high risk of leaving the workforce?
High risk of leaving the workforce. Of course, these are not my ideas, but from people phoning in and just from what people think, I just felt I kind of had an obligation to throw the ideas out. I may not agree with all of them, but with the actuarially based principle, those who are using the system are contributing the most to it. Sure.
Contract is concerned, suppose I'll put myself in that position. I decide I'll go to university for 5 years. I sign a contract, I will get X plus whatever everybody else is getting. At the end of 5 years, there's no job. Shouldn't there be some sort of a condition that I go for training, that at the end of X 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, there is going to be a job for me? 3/4 of the kids who are at university today are going hoping there will be a job. Shouldn't somebody, whether it is manpower or I don't really know who, should have a forecast whether we need teachers 10 years down the road, we need doctors 10 years down the road, we need dentists, we need factory workers, we need engineers, whatever we need. Instead of the university is taking XYZ, anybody they can get because they get more students, more funds. The professors keep the job, the universities keep it going. At the end of it, no job. You either go back and apply for social, whatever you can get, or get training somewhere else. I have a daughter, this is her 8th year at university. It's a standing joke in the family, Mom, you'll put me through 14 years of university and I'll be back with no money, no job. I know it will not happen. Similarly, you said about low self-esteem at schools. How come
Story of my life.
we have 200 students who graduate, 50 of them are full of confidence and self-confidence, and 150 don't know what they're doing? Something is wrong in our system when they are kindergarten or maybe younger than that a little bit of self-confidence is deprived every year, every day, before we reach that grade 12 portion.
Just to grow out of a number of comments, in terms of the education and self-esteem and all that, I think that we need to create a system in our education system of where greater emphasis is spent on cooperation rather than on competition, because I believe that part of the reason for lack of self-esteem and confidence for the job market is that there's too many losers in an increasingly competitive education system. And we graduate people who have, and those who happen to be at the top of the heap. I mean, that's the way we talk about it. But there's a whole bunch of people who aren't at the top of the heap that have ended up losing in the system. But to what I really want to talk about is when the Liberals ran, and in the Red Book, the Liberal Red Book, job creation was the #1 economic concern of the government, and they said that if we could create jobs in and a stronger economy, that the deficit would be reduced. A year later, we hear a complete reversal. we hear talk about reducing the deficit through cutting programs, and then the jobs will be created. If there are more people working, if we can have a comprehensive...
Looks like that might be it. Still a time code on the tape.
It's offered by the Neil Squire Foundation.
They're over.
For further information on the services and products offered by the Neil Squire Foundation, please write or call the Neil Squire Foundation, 4381 Gallant Avenue, North Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, V7G 1L1.
I've heard of it.
This is an event without your community channel. This is an event with your community channel. To have your event televised on Cable 10, contact us at 450-0337 or visit our studio location at 377 York Street.
That was cool. Glad I stayed for that. Anything else on here? Nope, that was it. Cool. Well, I think that'll be a stream for the night. Our viewers have dwindled, and also I'm sort of out of steam. I'm having a rough go of soldering an XLR connector onto this lapel mic. I freaking hate tiny thin wires that it takes no amount of heat to melt the insulation, and then you gotta cut it off and do it again. I think I've cut about half a foot off this frickin' microphone cable. It's not even gonna be long enough to do its job by the time I'm done. Oh well. Anyway, we got through 2 hour-long tapes tonight. That was pretty good. And before I go, I will show. Someone mentioned in the chat, yes, I am assembling the Ceres Corporation 1A2 KSU. I'm about 2/3 of the way done so far. But there it is. And I'm still waiting on a couple of parts to come from eBay. I gotta get the DTMF decoder chip. And then I'm waiting on a, almost said a bankrupt, a bootleg, a bootleg Picket 3 programmer to program the PIC chips. Other than that, it's coming along well. It's a lot of soldering, that's for sure. Hundreds of solder joints on this thing. But once I get those 2 parts and I get it the rest of the way together, I'll be ready to plug the phones in and actually test them and actually use them. So that'll be cool. So anyway, that's it for tonight. I don't know when the next stream will be. Might be tomorrow, might be later this week. I don't know, but lots more U-Matic tapes to do, as always. So thank you very much for watching tonight, and I'll see you next time. Good night.